Walmart, the retail giant, plans to close 3 of its US-based technology stores, asking hundreds of workers to relocate while retaining their jobs.
Walk into a Walmart today, and it feels less like a store and more like a bad joke America keeps telling itself. The shelves are lined with overpriced junk. The low price guarantee is a lie people stopped laughing at years ago, and the customer walking out looks more robbed than served. This isn't retail. It's daylight theft dressed in blue vests. And while Walmart continues to drain Americans' resources, a far bigger story is unfolding. The world's shoppers are quietly shifting their loyalty, money, and trust to Africa. Yes, Africa, the continent Walmart's boardrooms once sneered at as emerging. Now it's America's turn to watch Africa emerge and to watch Walmart crumble. But what is really going on? Let's find out. There was a time when Walmart was untouchable. For millions of Americans, it wasn't just a store, it was the default. Need groceries? Walmart. Need clothes? Walmart. Need electronics, medicine, or even financial services? Walmart had it. The company became so large and powerful that it wasn't competing anymore. It was dictating how retail should operate. But that aura of invincibility has now shattered in real time. And the collapse is not being driven by Wall Street analysts or regulatory crackdowns. It's being driven by ordinary consumers, people who are sick of paying more, getting less, and being treated as though they have no choice. The scale of the exodus is startling. In just the past few years, millions of transactions that should have gone through Walmart's registers have instead slipped away. It isn't just that shoppers are spending less at Walmart, it's that they're actively spending elsewhere. And here lies the shocker. That elsewhere is increasingly Africa. A continent long mocked by Western economists as too fragmented, too unstable, or too developing, is now quietly absorbing consumer demand that Walmart once considered its birthright. This isn't speculation. Economists tracking retail flows confirm that African digital marketplaces and local production hubs are pulling in global dollars at Walmart's expense. Investors who once saw Walmart as a safe, predictable bet are redirecting funds into African e-commerce startups, logistics providers, and export-driven factories. The migration is not symbolic, it's financial. Every dollar escaping Walmart's orbit is one more dollar empowering Africa's rise. For US elites, this shift is terrifying because it breaks two illusions at once. First, Walmart represents permanent American retail dominance. And second, that Africa will forever remain a passive consumer of Western products rather than a producer of its own global brands. Both illusions are dying, and they're dying fast. On the ground, the story feels even more visceral. Families in the US walk into Walmart expecting low prices always, and instead confront shelves filled with goods that cost more than they did last month and perform worse than they did last year. Trust is evaporating, and trust, once broken, doesn't return. When consumers feel cheated, they don't merely switch stores, they switch systems. And that's exactly what's happening. Walmart represents the old system, and Africa represents the new one. Walmart executives, of course, insist they're still strong, pointing to revenues, store counts, and their expansion plans. But those numbers hide the deeper truth. Dominance is no longer measured by how many stores you open. It's measured by how many customers you keep. And Walmart is bleeding customers in ways it can't control. Meanwhile, Africa's platforms, startups, and trade networks are gaining customers who feel not just like buyers, but like participants in a new economy. That is why this moment feels historic. But why is this happening? It fell because the very shoppers who built its empire stopped believing in it. And when shoppers stop believing, retail giants die. Walk into an average Walmart today, and the disconnect is visible. Prices that once seduced families now repel them. You don't hear cheap and cheerful anymore. You hear muttered complaints about bills that keep creeping upward. Shoppers pick up products with suspicion, tugging at thin fabrics, squinting at ingredient lists, and shaking their heads when the quality doesn't justify the cost. Even the shopping experience itself feels like an insult. Long lines, self-checkout machines that barely work, endless aisles of sameness. It's not convenient anymore. It's exhausting. And this exhaustion is not just physical, it's emotional. Consumers don't just want a transaction, they want a sense of agency. They want to know that their money buys them value, not disappointment. They want variety that reflects their individuality, not a warehouse that flattens everyone into the same set of options. Walmart can stack 1,000 microwaves on a shelf, but if all of them are cheap imports with no longevity, shoppers feel like prisoners, not customers. This is where the revolt begins. Consumers are no longer willing to play along with a system that treats them as numbers on a spreadsheet. They want transparency, not corporate slogans, but proof. They want choice, not endless rows of identical products, but genuine diversity. They want accountability, not a faceless call center, but businesses that know their names and value their loyalty. Walmart, built on scale and sameness, cannot deliver any of this. Now compare this with what consumers see when they look outside America, especially toward Africa. There, marketplaces are telling a different story. A buyer can log into a digital platform and purchase handmade crafts, ethically sourced food, or fashion items that come with a traceable origin story. They can see where the cocoa was grown, who wove the fabric, and how the product reached them. The experience isn't faceless, it's human. And in an era where consumers are craving meaning, that matters more than Walmart's always low prices. This revolt is not just about saving a few dollars, it's about rejecting the feeling of being trapped in a system that doesn't respect the consumer. It's about dignity. And dignity is something that cannot be sold in bulk. It must be earned. Walmart never understood this because it believed scale was its only weapon. But a scale without trust is worthless. The revolt is spreading because shoppers have discovered they are not stuck anymore. Technology has given them options Walmart never wanted them to have. With a few clicks, they can bypass the world's largest retailer and buy directly from producers thousands of miles away. For Walmart, that is terrifying, because it means consumers no longer need Walmart to connect them to the world. And so the revolt deepens. Each frustrated shopper becomes another lost customer. Each lost customer becomes another dollar flowing elsewhere. And those dollars are not floating into a void. They're being pulled into Africa's orbit, fueling its transformation into a new hub of global commerce. Which brings us to the next question. If U.S. consumers are revolting against Walmart because they crave transparency, variety, and dignity, how exactly is Africa stepping in to meet those demands? What makes Africa capable of providing what Walmart never could? Let's pause for a second to say big thank you to the Black Culture Diary community, where Black voices, stories, and legacies are preserved and amplified. By becoming a member, you're not just supporting the channel, you're becoming part of a powerful cultural movement. Let's continue. Africa's demographics are unmatched anywhere in the world. Over 70% of its 1.3 billion people are under the age of 30. That's not just a number, that's an engine. It means a continent driven by restless energy, ambition, and the hunger to create something new. While the average age in the US and Europe is rising, creating older, risk-averse markets, Africa's youth are leaning into risk, disrupting old models, and building retail systems that speak directly to the frustrations American consumers feel. This generation grew up with technology, not as outsiders trying to adapt, but as natives shaping it. They didn't inherit Walmart's brick-and-mortar mindset. They skipped straight to digital. In Lagos, Nairobi, and Accra, startups are building apps that connect farmers to buyers, designers to customers, and manufacturers to global markets. These apps aren't flashy experiments, they're lifelines. They solve real problems, like making sure a cocoa farmer gets paid fairly, or ensuring that a fashion designer can reach a customer in Paris without begging Walmart for shelf space. That is why Africa feels so different right now. It isn't trying to replicate Walmart, it's creating something Walmart cannot even imagine. Take Jumia, often called the Amazon of Africa. While American commentators scoff at the comparison, Jumia has already proven it can thrive by tailoring itself to African realities. Mobile payments, last-mile delivery on motorbikes, and partnerships with local businesses. Or look at Paystack, a Nigerian fintech company acquired by Stripe, which is rewriting how digital transactions work. These companies don't just serve African consumers, they create models that global buyers, including those in the US, are now drawn to. The scale of innovation is staggering. Rwanda is piloting drone delivery systems that rival anything seen in Silicon Valley. Kenya's M-Pesa turned mobile money into a way of life long before US retailers even understood what mobile payments were. South Africa's Takealot is growing into a logistics powerhouse that cuts delivery times in ways Walmart still struggles with in rural America. These are not scattered anecdotes. They are proof that Africa's youth are not just participating in the global market, they are redefining it. And here's the crucial point. US consumers disillusioned with Walmart don't just want cheaper goods. They want goods tied to values. They want to know their money empowers someone real, not just a faceless corporation. Africa's youth give them exactly that. A handmade product bought from an African platform carries a story, a face, a connection. That is something Walmart can never mass produce. For Walmart, this is the nightmare scenario. Because no matter how many stores it opens, no matter how many slogans it prints, it cannot compete with a generation of Africans building new systems from scratch, unshackled by outdated retail models. Africa's youth are not asking Walmart for permission to enter the market. They are designing the market themselves, and Walmart is the outsider scrambling to catch up. This raises the next inevitable question. If Africa's youth are building these innovative systems and winning over global consumers, what does this mean for Walmart's empire and the broader US retail economy? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Walmart was built on one assumption, that consumers had nowhere else to go. Its model thrived because scale itself was the weapon. Bigger stores, bigger supply chains, bigger bargaining power with suppliers. For decades that worked. But what happens when consumers suddenly have other choices, and those choices feel not just different, but better? That's exactly what's happening as Africa's youth-driven markets expand, and the result is Walmart's slow-motion panic. The financial impact is brutal. Analysts are reporting a measurable leakage of transactions away from Walmart's system. Every time a US consumer skips a Walmart purchase in favor of a product from an African platform, that is not just lost revenue, it's lost influence. The same applies to investors. Capital that once flowed into Walmart stock as a safe bet is now being redirected into African startups, supply chains, and export industries. For an empire that relied on predictable loyalty, this redirection is a death sentence disguised as market choice. Walmart's leadership knows it. That's why they are throwing resources into Africa itself, announcing new store openings in South Africa, signaling expansion into Nigeria, and investing in logistics to catch up with competitors already on the ground. But here's the irony. Walmart is no longer the one setting the rules. It's no longer arriving as the conqueror. It's arriving as the desperate outsider trying to secure a foothold in a market that doesn't need it. And the danger for Walmart is not just African consumers, it's American perception. Because in the US, Walmart is being exposed as a giant that no longer innovates, but imitates. When consumers see Africa producing traceable, ethical products, and Walmart responding by clumsily mimicking similar ideas, the illusion of leadership is broken. Instead of being the trendsetter, Walmart looks like the follower. And followers rarely hold empires together. The broader US economy feels the tremors too. For decades, Walmart was not just a store. It was a pillar of America's domestic consumption machine. Its reach into every small town meant that Walmart's growth was America's growth. But as dollars and attention flowed toward African markets, that equation no longer holds. Each dollar that circulates in Lagos or Addis Ababa instead of Arkansas chips away at US economic dominance. Washington's economists can dress it up in technical language, but the reality is plain. America's largest retailer is losing the ability to anchor America's consumer power. And here's the deeper wound. Walmart is learning that money doesn't just measure transactions, it measures respect. When consumers and investors redirect their money elsewhere, they are saying something far more damaging than, "We found a cheaper option." They are saying, "We no longer believe in you." For a company that built its identity on dominance, that is existential. The panic is visible in Bentonville's corridors. More advertising campaigns, more promises to reinvent, more investments in technology that African startups already perfected years earlier. But panic is not a strategy, and imitation is not innovation. Walmart can open 10 more stores, but if the global story is shifting toward Africa, those stores will be nothing but monuments to a bygone era. Which leads us to the final decisive question. If Walmart's decline signals the erosion of America's retail empire, what does Africa's ascent really mean for the world? Is Africa simply taking Walmart's customers, or is it reshaping the very center of global consumer power? For the first time in modern history, the continent is not framed as a passive market waiting to be exploited. It is stepping forward as the architect of a new system, one that is forcing giants like Walmart to bend or break. The transformation is sweeping. Africa is no longer just exporting raw commodities at bargain prices. It is exporting confidence, culture, and innovation. From Ghanaian chocolate brands sold directly to European buyers, to Ethiopian coffee chains competing internationally, to South African fashion labels carving out identity in global markets, Africa is presenting finished products with pride. This is a revolution in perception as much as in trade. What once was dismissed as underdeveloped is now seen as authentic, premium, and desirable. Consumers around the world, frustrated by the emptiness of mass retail, are gravitating toward this authenticity. The infrastructure supporting this shift is equally important. New logistics corridors are being built that connect ports in Mombasa, Durban, and Abidjan to inland manufacturing hubs. Digital payment systems, refined over years of necessity, are now world-class and secure. Blockchain tools ensure that exports meet global standards with verifiable traceability. Each of these systems is not just about efficiency, it's about credibility. And credibility is exactly what Walmart is bleeding while Africa is gaining. The psychological shift is just as powerful as the economic one. In the West, consumers are disillusioned with faceless corporations. Africa offers them something different, a connection to stories, to communities, to producers whose lives are touched by each purchase. A handbag bought from a Nigerian marketplace carries the weight of local artistry. A piece of jewelry from Kenya tells a story of heritage and craft. Walmart's products may be cheaper in bulk, but they carry no meaning. Africa's products carry identity, and in an age where meaning matters, that identity is priceless. Investors, too, see the writing on the wall. Money is flowing into African ventures at a pace that would have been unthinkable 2 decades ago. These are not just speculative bets, they are long-term commitments to Africa's role as a retail and innovation hub. Every new round of investment widens the gap between Walmart's stagnation and Africa's acceleration. The more Africa rises, the more Walmart's empire looks like a relic of a fading era. And here's the crucial point. This isn't just about Walmart losing sales. It's about a global power shift. Retail has always been more than shopping. It's the heartbeat of economies. Whoever controls consumer markets controls influence, jobs, and growth. For decades, America claimed control through companies like Walmart. Now Africa is taking that control, not by imitation but by innovation. And that shift will ripple into geopolitics, trade negotiations, and cultural influence. For Africa, this is not the end of dependency. It is the beginning of dominance. For Walmart, it is not just a financial problem. It is an existential one. You cannot dominate a world that no longer looks to you for answers. The story began with shoppers walking out of Walmart stores. It ends here, with Africa standing as the destination they've been walking toward. Walmart's fall is not just a corporate crisis. It is a milestone in the rise of Africa. The moment the continent stopped being the world's supplier of raw goods and started being the world's supplier of value, meaning, and power. And if this is only the beginning, then the next decade will not be remembered for Walmart's decline. It will be remembered for Africa's ascendancy. Do you think Walmart can ever win back trust once consumers have found freedom in Africa's markets? Let us know in the comments section. Is this the end of America's retail dominance, or just the beginning of Africa's? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.